A holiday season everyone looks forward to, but not only are families and friends planning a time of joy and rest, criminals also take advantage of this holiday period when we are supposedly relaxed and looking the other way. National Police Commissioner General Khehla Sitole is here in the studio to talk to us about planning for the festive season. But also in this interview, we seek answers to a case of a family that's fighting for justice. 2 years ago, their 7-year-old son died tragically during a fun day. Even after an arrest was made, the suspect was freed on bail and has disappeared. The latest Checkpoint episode investigates this emotional case. And we ask the question where one goes when the police seem to be failing in their duty. We also take that conversation forward with General Sitole, the policing expert, Eldred de Klerk, on Skype from Newcastle, and South African Police Union President Mpho Kwinika. But first, let's speak with you, General Sitole, about the festive season, the changes that we've seen. Let's start off with the good bits, the extra policing in Durban. How's that playing out?
Okay, thanks very much, Jane. I think firstly, the festive season is a high-density, integrated policing operation, which is intended to create a safe and secure festive season for our communities in the country. As part of the operational plan, we decided to take out all our police, even from the administrative offices. We took out all our medium and high-risk forces to face those criminals who are actually undermining the safety of our communities. And even myself and the minister were on a reach-out program, reaching out all over and just make sure that the police are there, we motivate them and we push them. Hence, the results that the festive season is yielding, and is a stabilization operation where we've got high crime areas and hotspots. We intensify. That's why you would see in the Western Cape, we're clamping down the gang activities. And then
so
around
no holiday, no festive season for the police, but I think everyone's grateful for that. If it's
for sure, and stabilizing the heists and a lot of other criminals that instills fear to our communities, as well as the economic crimes, those that are driving the investors away. So that's the festive season operational plan. It's continuing until the end of January. Okay.
Eldred de Klerk, let me bring you in here. I mean, this is quite a visible statement, isn't it? Extra policing, you know, from top to bottom. Do you think it's going to make a difference and give out the sort of message that the country needs to give out?
Good evening, and good evening to the National Commissioner and Paul from the Police Union. And thank you, Jane. I think that it's commendable that the police once again have offered up their festive season and have taken to the streets. What we hope with this high visibility and density is that police actually get out of their vehicles, start walking the beat, literally, start talking and engaging with people, and do a bit more than seek to fight crime, but actually look to do what the Constitution demands of them and of all of us, and that is to prevent crime, harm and vulnerability, which calls, I think, for more than a strategy, or a strategy more than just saturation policing, unfortunately.
Okay. Would you like to answer that? And I'll get on.
Yeah, no, thank you. Firstly, let me appreciate, because it's not only a question, there's also inputs.
It's a good point, huh?
Yeah, it's inputs, and I acknowledge the inputs. But what I first wanted to say is that I, as a national commissioner, have set a living example. I've been on foot patrol today. Yes, and I will be on foot patrol. I'm on the beat.
Following suit, and are they asking the right questions?
If they don't follow me, I fire them. But I think I've been with them. And I actually demonstrated that we do not only need to sit in the vehicles, let us do foot patrol as part and parcel of complementing our crime prevention strategy.
Mpho Kwinika, are police feeling inspired at the moment? I mean, is this a different way for them to work? Because that's been one of the biggest complaints, isn't it, that the police are not visible and they're lazy.
You see, South Africans deserve better than what we are offering. And I think in future we should be able to have a strategy which is going to enable South Africans to have policing not on seasonal basis, but something that happens every day of their life. And once South Africans feel safe, feel comfortable that the rights, the freedom of association, the freedom of movement, allowing them to go wherever they want to go, then South Africans will be happy. So if the police can give this, it's fine. And I want South Africans to also commend cops who are doing a good job. We need to be able to say to them, this is a good work. It's a very difficult thing to do because you can, one person's life can be lost today, but protect
I think
many.
Unfortunately, I think everyone wants to commend a cop, but sadly there are so many cases where police are complicit when it comes to crime or corruption or sexual abuse. So that equation needs to be changed.
Yeah, but we shouldn't generalize that. We know that that is happening. Those many people that are there who are doing a good job, let's show them that we appreciate that which they are doing.
Absolutely.
But those few that are not doing it, we need to also, because we've got disciplinary regs, the commissioner knows them, correct their conduct so that their conduct is acceptable.
You were talking about better policing every day, more visible. I was at the FNB Stadium, the whole concert there and the fiasco that happened afterwards, and I was one of those that took, 4.5 hours to get home. Luckily, I got home. What really stood out for me was the lack of policing there, that the military didn't come in. So there still is a real problem in, I guess, intelligence, possibly, analysing a situation and responding a lot quicker.
Okay, maybe firstly let me start from the president of SAPO, that in future our strategy should provide more visible policing.
Yeah.
I've been out together with the minister on the personnel plan of the organization. And from where I'm sitting, I want to commend the police because we are actually able to achieve the current successes with a far below par ratio of police to the public. I think the population stat has been released recently, 57.3 million. And then for us to balance that equation, we need 62,000 presently because our ratio is far below.
Yeah.
Now we have reviewed the personnel plan. And then we are now beginning to work towards growing towards those numbers so that we take the strain off, that is our police. But at the present moment, they are doing their best with the little that we have, and we encourage them and we motivate them. So I think that's the point. But the strategy is working towards closing the gap of the ratio.
Elder de Klerk, where does the money come from to close that gap, to get more police on the streets, to better the training?
Quite frankly, Jane, I think the police is hamstrung by the fiscal reality that every single institution, government department works with. And the commissioner is right, every member should be commended. It's also proper that police have taken members out of the office and put them on the streets. And I hope by integration, what the commissioner is actually saying is that there will be much more of a tied up working together with traffic and other law enforcement agencies, with private entities who run our CCTV cameras, and with our municipalities, but also with other public entities. You were talking about leaving the FNB Stadium and not being able to find your way home. We've been successful in the workup of getting thousands upon thousands of people away from stadiums for up to 4 hours after every single football match. When did we drop the ball on learning the lessons of things that we actually do well, and we stopped doing them well? So
Sorry, can I just jump in here? Remember at the World Cup, everything was done so well, wasn't it? We had the visible policing. If somebody was caught, they were quickly tried. South Africans were safe. The international community was safe. Something's gone wrong.
Okay.
Why can't we pick that all up? Carry on, Eugene. Sorry, Eldred.
Indeed. Jane, I also wanted to say this, and it's something else you alluded to, and you were talking about where does the budget come from this. Well, unfortunately, we spend way too much money on private security. There is a plan to make sure that we have one unified police service working to a similar standard and abiding by the same code of conduct. Our unions play a large role in this, in trying to make sure that our police are properly trained and competent. What we've seen and the utterances we hear from both the minister and the commissioner are encouraging, and we want to believe them and we want to support them in going forward. Unfortunately, police training has fallen flat on its face. Police officers are eager for enrichment, for training, for us holding their hand and showing by example. The case you're going to be referring to later on the unfortunate family who 2.5 or 2 years and 1 month ago lost a son in an avoidable accident. The detective in that case is not solely to blame. His or her supervisor, their line manager and their commander, who has direct responsibility for them, for guiding them and being their custodian, is equally to blame. So we can't just say that the policing is about a few rotten apples. It's about the entire chain of command. And I want to just say this to the minister and to the commissioner. I see the commissioner sitting there in his combat fatigues. For me, that's a point of sadness. Recently, on my way to Newcastle, I passed through OR Tambo, and there were 3 police officers standing very smartly in properly ironed uniforms with not their PCAPs on. They had their proper dress blues on, and everybody was looking at them. If they had the usual pajamas that they wear, which is that's what I call their combat fatigues, nobody would have seen them. But everybody looked at these 3 officers. I went up to them, I thanked them, and I commended them for not chewing gum, for not being on their phone, but actually truly looking smart and being present. I would hope that when the National Commissioner goes back on the streets tomorrow, he's out of his combat fatigues and in his blues, because this is not about fighting crime. It's actually about building relationships with the public and instilling public confidence so that you win the public's support in doing the right thing, which is what most of us do.
Okay, there's also public support. I don't know, are you going to be in your blues? Probably not. No, I can see that look in his face. Okay. It's not going to happen.
No. No. Look, what I first wanted to talk about is 2010. 2010, the establishment was 198,000. Currently, it's 191,000. 8,000 down. But let me also agree with Mr. de Klerk. When I'm on combat is when we're on stabilization. Yes, and if I go to criminals, I need to demonstrate that seriousness. But if I go to the public, I've got a nice, friendly uniform, which I use to launch the community policing strategy with. And there, that friendly environment is created, and we interact with the communities. And we have mobilized them. We're also working together with them.
Okay.
But the combat is just for stabilization.
Okay, got it. Let's go to that case referred to in Checkpoint and listen to what the Mpumalanga police spokesman, Brigadier Leonard Hafti, said when he said the police have done their job and cannot be held responsible.
When the court decides to say there are loose ends that are to be tightened up, get what I'm saying? They then withdraw the case on the reasons. That is now beyond our job as the police. Because
no, it's not. Actually, yes. Loose ends means that you didn't have a case against the guy and they couldn't keep him in custody.
It is not that police did not do their job. It is not that the court had an error. There's nobody here.
Nobody to blame. It just so happened.
Exactly, because
nobody's to blame.
Nobody is to be blamed.
You had your suspect in October on the day of the incident with all the witnesses around, with all the evidence around. Now you don't have a suspect and nobody's to blame?
I'm saying nobody is to be blamed.
Why not?
Not because that the suspect is not there.
Can you tell the parents of their child that nobody's to blame?
General Sitole, what's your response to that? I mean, how long does somebody have to wait, and the incompetence there and possible collusion?
Okay. Firstly, this is a sensitive matter. Yeah, and on behalf of the South African Police Service, we would like to share our sympathy and also convey our message of condolence to the family. And this is a matter that warrants seriousness. Yeah, I don't want to start by either defending or say who is wrong and who's not wrong. This case has been brought to my attention. Immediately after it has been brought to my attention, I have assigned a Major General, the highest rank, to deal with this particular case.
Good.
As I'm talking to you now, the Major General is handling the matter. And the case currently is under control. is overseen at the highest level. And I've also further issued instructions that I needed to be briefed, yes, on a weekly basis, until such time that we see the difference. Yes.
How do police work in such a circumstance? I mean, this sadly is not a case that, we see too many of this type of case where the evidence goes missing, it gets tampered with, the witnesses disappear, and the suspect in this case has left. So too many problems here, too many faults, too many mistakes.
Firstly, let me say this. This was a public relations exercise which went wrong. I think what the brigadier said there. And he should not have said that, because it is now creating a perception that police officers are complacent and they are not to blame for. You can't hold them accountable for a murder or an act or conduct that has been, done by someone else. But they have got a responsibility to make sure.
Right. I mean, it seems that the brave, everyone points fingers at everybody else. There's got to be somebody responsible.
Not in our environment. This is a command and control environment. And if you heard the clerk what he said there's lots of people that must be held accountable for what happened there. But another thing that I want to raise is the issue of the money, millions of rands, which were plowed into e-docket filing. I can assure you that which has happened there, it's an indication that the docket went missing. That is why the police went back to the family to go and look for the statement. But if they have captured all the statements into the e-docket filing, there was no need for them to go after statements which they've already captured into the system. What they were supposed to have done is to print those documents and then do a proper investigation from that. And I think it's something that the National Commissioner should look at it.
Okay, can I just show you what the end game is, or sadly the impact of such a thing like this, a tragedy, when you don't actually get to the end and find any closure? Let's listen to what the...
Truly speaking, since you were since October 2016, I don't have peace. Like I'm an inner person, I don't have peace. I don't even sleep at night.
Sadly, Mr. de Klerk, that's the tragic reality, right? I mean, we need the systems to be improved in order for that not to happen. And sadly, it takes this type of exposure to get it dealt with.
Indeed, and I want to reassure the National Commissioner that we applaud all the efforts that he continues to make and the leadership that he continues to show, actually expressing regret for what has happened on behalf of the police is not an acceptance of liability. And to say sorry to a family for something that is an unfortunate set of circumstances is not assigning blame. So I would start by saying that it's more than just a public relations exercise. I agree with Mpho, and that this smacks, unfortunately, of gross negligence and sheer incompetence. And we have to accept that something has to be done, and then something better has to come from this. But it also says that we need the imperative for tighter border control. We need to be able to tie up our address systems. We need to make sure that the fingerprint register and the DNA register and the e-docket filing is actually working. And we know that the National Commissioner has planned in place to make these things tie up and work. However, we need these things sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you for that. General Sitole, could this be the start of many other cases? I mean, I know it's a broad question, but will other cases be opened up in order to find some sort of conclusion, because we've got many out there?
Yeah, I think we are talking at the right time. As we're speaking, I've just formalized the cold case strategy, and they've also conducted a work study. So I have a cold case team now in my office.
Okay.
And that cold case team is specifically focusing on those cases which were not properly investigated. Yeah, they already have some of them, but I want to make a call to the public to say, should we encounter any such level of dissatisfaction with certain cases, the cold case strategy is in place, and I've got a team that will be working with that in my office. And top of the agenda of those cases, they are running on Senzo Maiwa and some few others.
Okay.
But it's there.
General Sitole, thank you very much. Elder de Klerk, Mpho. Kunika, thank you very much.
Thank you.
More troubles on the horizon for DRC with elections on Sunday. Can the strong man lose his grip for the sake of the country? And after that, we're going to discuss how you can save money over the festive season.